Hi, I'm Gail Minogue again, and I wanted to speak with you today on our wonderful YouTube opportunity about the police and this kind of heavy-handed way that we are handling, especially in America, protests or just beating up civilians. First of all, the police are necessary. We need to have law and order. That's part of our bedrock, but we don't need abuse. And we don't need to go to these extremes of what I call militarizing the police, which has happened in the last several years. In fact, LA Unified School District was given grenade launchers by the military, and their excess supplies they pass on to the police forces in different cities so that the cities become more militarized. And when you see them coming down the street, they look like they're coming to a war, and their outfits, and they're of course a fortune. And but that peace resistance was when the LA Unified School District was given a grenade launcher. Now, I don't know about you, but they didn't have much need for a grenade launcher, and they did give it back. However, I think they kept the one of the armored vehicles, you know, just in case those school children decided to throw a lot of tomatoes at them or something, sticks, bricks. So nevertheless, what we've had in the last several years is a very big militarization of our police forces, and they look like part of our army. And army is very different than police. Army is to kill people at war. Police are to serve and protect. But they have gotten mixed up thanks to sort of the powers that be in the Defense Department, where we have excess surplus, wasteful money spent, and we need to send that off. So we'll send it off to our locals, and now we will have a more militaristic unit. So anything that happens, we're trained more to respond in a very heavy-handed method. And this has happened in the last, say, 20, 30 years, particularly in the last 10 to 20, as America has done more wars, we have excess capacity left over. So where do we go with this? We give it away like, you know, isn't that nice? I just won a bingo game and I won a tank. You know, so terrific. But the thing about it all is it all kind of fits with the transit of Pluto in Capricorn. It got worse since 2008 because Capricorn, Pluto itself is death and transformation, went into the sign of Capricorn. And listen, Pluto doesn't wound, it destroys. And then out of it comes a new idea, a new birth, whatever. So what it's been doing since 2008 is kind of destroying, going down the street like a steamroller and rolling over and destroying. So we have had very, very heavy-handed stuff since 2008. It got worse. More of the extreme of beatings, more of the extreme of force, because we've trained our police to be in that capacity as a military. But this is not going to last. This protest that we've just had recently with George Floyd is really a turning point. People say, yeah, well, we had Rodney King, and we had this one, we had that one. This is a different time because the cycles and the heavenly system has changed. And America is going through its revolution. Whether we realize it or not, we're in another revolution in America, similar to the one we had in 1770 to 1778, okay? Now, so similar situations, that time it was King George, now it's the government and corporations. So this heavy-handed will not work any longer because we're about to make changes January 2021, where we start to look more at equality for people, and then 2024, where Pluto changes completely out of the sign of Capricorn, which is all control, heavy-handed, karma, and it enters the sign of rational thinking, equality, Aquarius, for a very long time. So it's coming, folks. So you're seeing the end of this heavy-handed militaristic period, and it has to be exposed. So the protests, the people said enough is enough. And you're going to see this. It's just very, if I took you back to some of the incidences that happened in the late 1700s, it's almost like you'd be reading the same story, would just change the name and the town. Very similar things. A lot of abuse, heavy-handed by the powers that be, which were all under King George and his friends. And so now, this again, it can't last, because once that trend is over, in 1778, it changed. In 2024, it changes. So you got about 3 more years of this garbage where it really will start to change, but you'll see the glimpse of it January 2021. And the military, which tried to be generous and donate and militarize our police systems, is not working. The training of force, chokeholds, all this kind of stuff is exposed, won't work. And the other thing too that's coming up the pike, shall we say, the rise of the female. Once we passed 2000, she started to rise. And the 2 is a female number, so we're going to have more female influence, more female power, more female recognition, and more female decision making. So this election in 2020 and then 2024 are the last of the old guard. In fact, 2024 will be the new guard. It will definitely be the new guard. So right now, the female is really sort of strutting her stuff. Coming in, it will become more cooperative. You're going to see, by force, a lessening of this heavy-duty militaristic police zone and a reluctance of the public to put up with all the heavy protection that the police have, where you never can get a conviction because either the unions or the protective league of the police will not allow it. And there's all kinds of court cases that will have to be overturned that were always in favor of the police, so you see never a conviction. And so this great inequality is like part of the old American Revolution. It's part of the same thing, that the Pentagon is being asked, please do not donate your militaristic equipment to our police forces anymore. We don't want them, we don't need them, and you're finding some towns like Camden, New Jersey, getting rid of its police force. I'm not in favor of that personally. I do believe in reform, but it has to be stuck to, and it has to stop hiding, because a lot of people go into self-deception. Sounds good, but this time it will stick, and it will stick because of these reasons, and it has to do with the transits. But America is another thing about America and why it's so militaristic. It is the business of kind of America is war. We have wars always going on somewhere. We have, like we call these lotus ponds. We have these tiny bases all over the world, at least 250 of them, where we plunk our people and our weapons. And then we have, just as Eisenhower said, the military-industrial complex back in the 50s. This is huge business. You're not just shutting down, tanks. You're shutting down, you're eliminating some of our biggest industries, some of their profit line. So this whole system that feeds into this is in the process of being exposed. We haven't gotten to the corporate yet. Right now we're exposing just the police, but then we're going to get into the military, and then we're going to get into the corporations that make all their money by selling our weapons. The other thing to keep in mind too, that I just briefly mentioned to you, is that the big, what we call the Great Year, which is 24,000 years long, and I've talked about this before to you, we're coming out of, so we're ascending out of the Iron Age. Well, what is an Iron Age? An Iron Age was made of metal and iron, and it was very warlike, and it went on for a couple thousand years. That's the period that we're coming out of. And we're already, basically we're out, so you're seeing the remnants of it, like the dying embers. So it's going to take hundreds of years to come into the next Bronze Age. We're actually in the early stages of it. That's why you're seeing this exposure. So these heavenly transit, you think nothing of, you think it's crazy, or you think it's, turban-headed crystal ball kind of garbage. Well, you just sit around and watch it happen to you, and watch these giant trends. So this great year, we reached the bottom, especially in the Dark Ages. We're starting to move out, getting away from war. Trying to become a civilized country from being a barbaric country. So we're kind of on that brink of barbarism and civilization. We're not in civilization yet, America. It's still got barbaric pulls. So you have to get into that, and as we go forward, more rational, more awareness, more enlightenment. You're going to see this. You go further into the age of Aquarius, we won't have time for all this religion, superstition, and all the fear that has done. So kind of like why getting the nutshell of the police force is like it is, why not? If you came from that background, why wouldn't you be this way? Why wouldn't you beat the crap out of somebody if you can and you've been trained to do that? So it's a lot of unraveling, and that takes time, but it's already started. George Floyd is not an accident, and I even like the name George because everything is similar to King George. He's just a representation of that. And I find it ironic that he goes in a golden casket, and he has a kingly funeral. But nevertheless, I digress. I just wanted to have you think further about how we could look at this in a different way. It's good. If you want to get rid of infection, you have to really let it drain, and that's what we're draining. So I look forward to talking with you next time. Reach me on gailminogue.com. My book, Divine Design. You need to get a copy of it because it's going to teach you how to understand your own blueprint that you came in with at birth. Everybody needs to know their own blueprint by kindergarten. It's very important, very, very important. Thanks for listening again.